Water.
Aloha, thank you for joining us for this news conference to announce the acceptance of the environmental impact statement for the relocation of the Oahu Community Correctional Center, OCCC, and with that, the confirmation that Governor Ige has selected the animal quarantine station in Halawa as the site of the new OCCC. Our speakers include Public Safety Director Nolan Espinda and Department of Accounting and General Services DAGS Comptroller Roderick Becker to my right, but first, Governor Ige has a few words.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We all know that the existing jail at Dillingham and Pu'uhale is severely outdated and in disrepair. In my 2016 State of the State address, I said we were going to move forward with building a long overdue new facility. Now we've met another milestone in reaching that goal. The final environmental impact statement is complete, and I have accepted it. We will be taking the next steps in planning and moving forward with the relocation of OCCC to the animal quarantine station in Halawa. With this move, we will be able to create a secure, efficient, and cost-effective facility. Moving OCCC to Halawa is also a tremendous opportunity to reposition Kalihi for the future. It frees up the land along the rail route to be used for new economic development, affordable housing, and open space as envisioned by the Kalihi community. A little over a year ago, I received the 21st Century Kalihi Transformation Initiative Vision report from a community planning team that worked with the Office of State Planning to reimagine this part of our community. They identified a wide range of potential opportunities that can help transform the community to its fullest potential. We will continue to work concurrently with the community so that when the jail has been moved, we're ready to implement a new vision for Kalihi. In doing so, we intend to take full advantage of the transit-oriented development opportunities in this community. A project of this size and scope will be costly. It is an investment in our future. We are evaluating financing options to maximize the efficiencies and minimize the impact on other state projects. So this certainly is a giant step forward in improving our community.
Public Safety Director Nolan Espinda.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. We want to take this opportunity to thank all who have contributed to bringing this project to this juncture where it is. That includes the funding provided by the legislature. That includes the support provided by the Kalihi community. That includes the technical support of our consultants and the DAG staff. Most importantly, that includes the leadership provided by the governor on this project. Without that, we would not be where we are. We look forward to maintaining the momentum that has been created and to do our part in continuing the public partnership that will be necessary for the success of this project.
DAGS Comptroller Roderick Becker.
Good morning. So DAGS appreciates its involvement in delivering this much-needed project to the community. Getting here wouldn't have been possible without teamwork and the leadership of Governor Ige and Director Espinda. Based on many technical studies and feedback from legislators, stakeholders, and the community, public safety and DAGS are confident that the animal quarantine station is the best site for the new facility. Our next steps are to obtain regulatory approvals, including the plan review use permit. We are also working on expanding the women's correctional facility to accept women inmates from OCCC. Our efforts to engage the community have not ended. Our next steps will involve community outreach and engagement to provide much needed improvements to the people of Hawaii in the best way possible. Thank you.
Open to questions now.
Questions? Yep.
Governor, can you talk a little bit about the final price tag and how it will be paid for?
That is the next step in the process. We'll be looking at different options to finance the facility. The current estimated cost is about $525 million, and obviously we'd be looking at various scenarios. Geo bond funding of the facility is one option, and public-private partnership is the other, where we would engage a private sector partner.
Are there any of those private partners have been identified yet? Or?
No. I mean, I know that there are others in the community who would like to participate, but we haven't, at least not that I know. Yeah.
But when you say public-private partnership, you're talking about the operation of the prison or development?
No, it would be mainly in the design and development of the facility. The operations would continue to be a state-operated facility.
What about critics who say that money should be better spent to services to prevent incarceration instead of pouring it into another facility?
Certainly I do believe that the design will be taking into consideration, best practices on how we should manage those who create crimes against the community. But obviously, the adjudication of an offense and then the sentencing is really driven by the justice system. And obviously, once a decision is made, then our responsibility in the executive is to have a humane place that they can receive the services during their incarceration.
But Governor, OCCC is basically a holding area for people going to court. So it really doesn't impact, or it doesn't really cover incarceration per se, as well as impact on the other inmates that are housed on the mainland.
Well, certainly the population at OCCC is pretrial detainees, as well as those that are adjudicated and have sentences of a year or less. And so that population currently at OCCC is about 1,200 plus people today. That facility was designed for about 950.
But it has no impact on the inmates on the mainland.
It would not have any impact on bringing back inmates. As you know, that those are those that are sentenced to longer terms of incarceration.
So this new facility will house how many then?
The current plans are for an institution that would house upwards of 1,335 inmates.
1,000, I'm sorry?
1,335.
Currently, what is OCCC housed?
Currently, the capacity at OCCC is 954. Today's population count was 1,222. And like I said, the new institution we're planning on is for 1,335.
And that 1222 has about 150 women?
They currently occupy 3 different modules with a capacity of 60, 60, and 24.
Director Espinda, what kind of features would you like to see in the new placement facility?
Well, we want it to be as economically and efficiently designed as possible to keep down the primary cost of running an institution, which is manpower. Beyond that, we want to be, of course, culturally sensitive to our population here in Hawaii. More importantly, we really want to focus on rehabilitative techniques best utilized across the country so that we can reduce the recidivism rate here in Hawaii.
On a personal level, though, you have seen OCCC throughout your entire career. Don't you feel elated that this is finally happening?
I am absolutely elated and tried to convey that in my comments, yes.
Well, at least we saw you smile.
Director Espinda, you have overcrowding problems on the neighbor islands as well, sometimes in some cases more severe. Are there any plans to build new jails on those islands?
2 years ago, we were funded for jail expansions in Hilo, on Maui, and Kauai. Those programs and the plans for those are well underway, and we expect to break ground relatively soon on all 3 of those projects.
And will that alleviate the overcrowding, or do you need more major overhaul of those jails?
Well, we're relying heavily on HCR 134 task force to address many of the population issues related to overcrowding in our jails. But the expansions at these 3 different institutions will significantly reduce any overcrowding issues we have there.
With the capacity of this new facility, though, I guess you feel confident that somewhere down the line that is going to be enough? We're not going to be faced with a problem where that's going to be overcrowded?
We're very confident in our population projections, yes.
Director, can you expand on some of those rehabilitative techniques that you were talking about that you see being used? Is a couple of examples?
Well, different tactics employed by the courts are really successful. Bringing people back in for short periods of time, not necessarily reincarcerating them for the duration of probational terms. Furlough programs that allow people in and out on a slow process basis. Treatment for drug and alcohol addiction while in the institution. All of these different techniques will assist us in reducing the recidivism rate.
Director, what kind of forecast would you project on personnel that you would need for the new facility?
We have all the personnel we need right now manning the OCCC facility. This would not require any additional staff.
Today you talked about the sites.
And I think just an add, and we don't anticipate any layoffs, right? I mean, we do anticipate that as we construct a new facility, it definitely would be more efficient, but we would transition staff from existing facilities into the new facility.
And through attrition?
Right.
Okay. How many staff now?
There are, I believe, 411 correctional officers at OCCC and approximately 150 civilian staff.
Can you talk about a timetable? You selected the site. Can you take us through what, I know it's an estimate at this point, but when you plan to break ground, when you plan, if everything goes according to plan, when would this be finished?
Okay, so the $525 million price tag on this facility, that's calculated to the midpoint of construction, which is in 2022. So the completion should be a couple years after that.
But this is a domino effect. You'd have to build a new quarantine station, expand the Women's Correctional Center.
That's correct.
And then build this 525 million.
We'd need to move the animal quarantine station first, yes.
Any idea on the cost of that?
That's included in the $525 million. I think it's about $17 million of that amount.
But the FEIS has the timetable as 2023. You're saying it's now 2020?
Oh, sorry.
Midpoint of construction is estimated 2022. So the hope is that the construction will be wrapped up in 2023 and the transition inmates can be good after that.
Okay.
Rod, can you repeat that, please?
So the midpoint of construction is 2022, and completion of the facility should be in 2023. And at that point, we would be transferring the inmates to the new facility.
And at that point, you would bring up the Kalihi property up for development?
At that point, we would demolish the Kalihi facility and you want to talk about the
Yeah.
Kalihi?
I mean, I think at that point, then we, once we determine what's the best way to proceed in terms of financing this new facility, we would initiate actions and requests to the legislature to seek the appropriate funds. Once the construction begins on the new facility, then we can begin to talk about a timetable for redevelopment of the existing site, the OCCC site in Kalihi. As you know, we've gone through that community envisioning, and we have a number of ideas that the community has. They definitely would like to see opportunities to create jobs in the community. They would want some open space, definitely interested in affordable housing in the area. So I think all of those opportunities for that site would be available to begin that next phase of community conversations.
Director, I just wanted to clarify something. You said the capacity would be 1,335. I think the FEIS said there would be 1,044 beds. And I was just trying to figure out why the two numbers are different.
That's the last estimate I got, 1335.
So the 1,044 beds are detention beds, and in addition to that, we would be constructing 288 furlough beds. Sorry.
Right, so the furlough bids are more transitional kind of opportunities to begin to build job skills and position inmates for life outside of the facility.
Is there a decision yet on where the quarantine station will be?
The current plan is to relocate it in that existing parcel. You know, it would be going to the other side of the parcel. So that's the current plan.
And it doesn't require that many,
Right. As you may recall, we had a very stringent quarantine requirement previously where they had to complete 90 days of quarantine. And the new guidelines, especially if pet owners are taking proactive actions to vaccinate their pets before arriving in the islands, then the quarantine period is much reduced. And that's why the facility itself is envisioned to be a lot smaller than the current facility.
What about the Navy parcel that's potentially contaminated? What impact, if any, would that have?
I'm not familiar with the Navy parcel, so.
Yeah, so that's a parcel that we will be working to obtain, and the Navy, I believe, is assessing contaminants on the property.
What delay or what's planned to be on that Navy parcel?
Okay, so if I could ask Tom, our Rotary from AHL, to address that.
Thank you. As Rod said, my name is Tom Roderi. I'm an architect with Architects Hawaii. The current layout shows no vertical construction on the Navy portion of the site. So should there be problems with the acquisition of that portion of the property or problems with the contamination that the Navy is currently investigating, no vertical construction will be on there, so the current layout could still function.
Can you just go over the current layout?
Sure. As shown on the screen there, the layout shows two separate facilities. One is the detention facility of 1,044 beds, and then the separate pre-release or work furlough facility for those inmates transitioning back into society. You can see the red highlighted portion is the portion of land that is owned by the Navy. Neither of the buildings are resting on that portion of land.
And Director, being able to have lower security, some of that is projected to factor into the cost savings because you don't need to have the higher security for all of the inmates because they're separated out into the two buildings. Is that correct?
Well, it mirrors the program that we're running at OCCC right now, where we have a furlough program in two separate sites and the jail as a mainstay. This basically repeats that process in a different location.
Director Becker, does that 525 also include the Women's Correctional Center expansion?
It does not, but the legislature did provide a $40 million appropriation last session, and we're currently in the process of utilizing that to improve the facility.
Is that just planning money or?
No, that includes design and construction funds.
Governor, are there any plans to, obviously, the new OCCC wouldn't have an effect on the mainland population, but irregardless of that, are there any plans to try to move some of those prisoners back to Hawaii?
I mean, I do think that there is an effort to examine incarceration in general and look at best practices to reduce recidivism and rehabilitate those who are incarcerated. So clearly this facility would not have a direct impact, but the more efficient we can be, then the other opportunities would become available. We don't have sufficient beds to begin bringing many of those who are currently incarcerated on the mainland. And this facility in and of itself is really addressing short-term incarceration and does not impact that population that is currently on the mainland.
Director Spinda, how many of the least dangerous inmates have been released or qualify for early release under Act 217? There was an effort to reduce overcrowding by releasing some of the least dangerous inmates, the ones whose sentences were 3 years, and some of those other things. How many have actually
2 years ago, the legislature passed a bill that authorized my releasing of identified misdemeanor and petty misdemeanor inmates. I think at last count, because of the severe restrictions on the bill itself, we evaluated approximately 3,000 inmates. Of those, the vast overwhelming majority were not eligible based on the statute itself. We eventually looked closely at approximately 90 of those inmates, and I believe the last count, we released 15 people over the past year, 18 months,
From where?
on all the different CCCs across the state.
Are you looking at trying to get some of the language changed to make that less restrictive?
We introduced legislation last year that didn't go well, and we probably, now with better statistics, will have a better opportunity of doing that this year.
What was preventing the majority of those 3,000 inmates that you looked at from being released?
If you check the statute, you'll see that there are many restrictions on who would be eligible. And as we checked those off with the initial evaluation of all of them, they simply were weeded out by the statute itself. So I can't say specifically what it is, but a lot of it had to do with past violent actions.
Any other questions?
Any questions?
Okay, that concludes our news conference. If you haven't received a news release, Wayne, I think, please see Teal back there. We'll also be